Hello, I'm Eve Jackson in Paris. Welcome to ENCORE's weekly music show. Coming up, the Canadian singer Drake gets a surprise from Madonna at the California music festival Coachella, and he doesn't look too happy about it. American epic Jack White, T-Bone Burnett and Robert Redford's documentary series chronicling the first recordings of American roots music in the 1920s. And speaking to Marcus Miller, with everything from gospel to R&B, the ex-Miles Davis bass player addresses the issue of slavery on his new album. And for all that, I'm joined by France 24's music critic, Mariam Saab. Hello, Mariam.
Hello, Eve.
Welcome to the show. Now, the music festival Coachella kicked off over the weekend. Tell us about some of the highlights.
Well, first, we all saw the footage there, and I'm personally a little bit disgusted by it. A surprise, 25 minutes into Drake's debut set at Coachella, Madonna came out from the wings, serenaded the rapper with Express Yourself, then she went in for the kill. We're looking at it right there. She basically devoured Drake with a long, passionate kiss, then strutted off the stage. Drake's reaction, though, wasn't one of, I don't think she seduced him particularly. He seemed a little bit disgusted.
Yeah.
Stunts like that aside, some other highlights. Odd future ringleader Tyler, the Creator, who has an album coming out this week, Cherry Bombs, performed new tunes off that record. And Aussie rock legends AC/DC had audiences joining in with them in a sing-along. It was their first gig in 6 years. French singer Yell also got into the groove with an all-male twerking backing band, but it was really Jack White who stole the show. Unanimous Rolling Stones called his set scorching, and he performed songs from his back catalogue, from the White Stripes, and his solo work as well. Here's Jack White's Coachella Takeover.
And that was Jack White performing at Coachella. He's also been working on a documentary with blues legend T-Bone Burnett and the actor Robert Redford. It's called American Epic. Tell us some more. Now, the retro music doc takes audiences back to the heart of the American music scene in the 1920s and the 1930s. So once radios hit the big cities in 1926, the record industry took a big hit. So record companies headed south, where many households were without electricity and without radios. So this three-part documentary follows the trail of talent scouts as they unearthed and recorded blues, country, gospel, folk and other genres. And the doc actually honors the recording technology that they used at the time to capture the live music, without which we wouldn't have, lots of the amazing things that we have today. Now, as well as the series, a feature-length film called The American Epic Sessions, and an album has artists like Jack White, Beck, Elton John and Taj Mahal hitting the studio with recording equipment recreated from the era. So it's definitely a special one, worth a catch. Here's a sneak peek.
Many people do not realize that musical instruments are really mechanical. But now electricity is beginning to show amazing musical possibilities.
And I saw records made, music literally written in wax. The music of the world's greatest artists of past and present.
Some really fantastic pictures there.
Looks great.
To another musician now who's been looking back at history, former Miles Davis bass guitarist Marcus Miller. He recorded his new album Afrodeezia at slave trade locations in Africa, the Americas and France. He's performing at the Olympia here in Paris this week, and you've been speaking to him.
Yes, the guitar great spoke about how reconnecting with his African roots on Afrodeezia gave him even more perspective about the challenges of growing up black in America today. Let's hear from Marcus Miller.
it's who I am. If you take it away, I don't even know who I am. I've been a musician since I was 12 years old. So you can't separate it. What's happening? This is Marcus Miller. You're listening to Encore on France 24. And you're gonna have a sneak preview from my new album. It's called Afrodeezia. The people at UNESCO asked me to be a spokesperson for the Slave Root Project, and I began to think about my music. In this album, I was trying to tell the story of my ancestors all the way up till today. So I started in Africa and came across the Atlantic, worked with some musicians in South America and the Caribbean, and then the South, and then in the big cities. But in order to bring it really up to today, I decided to include this track called I Can't Breathe, which is a reflection of what's going on.
Can't breathe, no smoke, he the bear, hands way up in the air.
Well, what's going on today is the same thing that's been going on in America for the last 50 years, 60 years, which is, if you're a black father in America, you have a talk with your son, and you say, listen, if you get stopped by the police, this is how you behave. You be really cool. You keep your hands in your car on the steering wheel. If they ask you for your information, you tell them it's in my glove box, and you move slowly. You don't move fast. These are all the types of information that you give to your son. My father had this discussion with me. I had the discussion with my son. And if you talk to other people, they go, no, it's not that bad. Why are you putting these things in your children's head? And now, the one thing that's different, the one thing that's changed, is now we have cell phones with cameras. Now we have the internet. So all of a sudden, this information is right in front of people's faces. It's so obvious that you can't deny it. Standout moments from my studio days.
Check it out, right? I'll take you back.
Luther Vandross was incredible. We became really good friends, and we ended up writing a lot of music together.
Anyone who had a heart would take me in her arms and love me too.
Mariah Carey, I played on Mariah Carey's first big hit, Vision of Love, it was called. I played on Whitney Houston's first album. I played on a bunch of commercials for McDonald's.
Presenting Ronald McDonald in Get Out of Bed.
Because that's what studio musicians did in the mornings before we had our recording sessions for records, for albums. We would play for commercials because that way we knew our rent was paid. And then we go, I did stuff for Quincy Jones, for Frank Sinatra, for Elton John. We would just go from studio to studio. Working with Miles one-on-one was an incredible experience. Lots of times he'd just start talking before a take, before we recorded, he'd just start talking. And it could be about anything. He would talk about the 40s, when he first came to New York. He'd talk about the clothes, that he used to wear. And lots of times, whatever he played after a conversation, you could hear bits of the conversation in his playing. And he had so many chapters in his life, so many great stories, so many sad stories. He got beat up by the police while he was standing in front of a club in between sets. They told him, keep moving. He said, keep moving, I'm working here. That affected him. He talked about that a lot, you know what I mean? So it was the whole story, I was really fortunate to hear it directly from him. We have a really special relationship with our fans in France and in Paris. We've played the Olympia many times. And we did a preview at the Olympia months ago. It was the first show we did with this new music, and we had a really good time. And now I want people to hear how it's developed and really show them, what the possibilities are with this music.
seems like such an impressive and interesting man.
He's incredible, such a history. And, you know, he looks fresh as a daisy at 55. It's incredible. And one thing that I thought was quite sweet was that he said that it was his wife that actually really was his second set of ears on this record, that she taught him how to listen to music like an everyday man.
Oh, that's very sweet. Now, we're going to leave to someone who's definitely not very everyday, Madonna. We're going to wrap up with her latest single off her album, Rebel Heart. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, this is a post-apocalyptic ghost town with a special cameo from Terrence Howard. He doesn't get his face sucked off on this one, but he does go to toe in a tango with the Queen of Pop. It's one of her better video clips.
Okay. All right. Well, Mariam, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to leave you with that. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.